What do we get? What are our cards? Open. Rite of Beslanok, Kazarov, Benalish Marshal, Varix, Shalai, and Sylvan Awakening. So the strongest cards out of these are the Rite and the Shalai and the Varix. The Varix being way stronger than the other two. Shalai being quite good. Rite being decent. Kazarov's also okay. You can see a red-black deck. I mean, we're just looking at rares, right? We don't have the rest of it to do. Benalish Marshal is hard to play again for the same reason. It's just like in-sealed. You're often not a monocolor, and triple mana is really a monocolor style deck. Let's take a look at our commons and uncommons. White looks really bad. 2 charges, a Healing Grace, Tragic Poet, Adamant Will, Benalish Honor Guard, Knight of New Benalia. 1 Marshal. Oh, there's more. So what is this? It's by CMC? Yeah, okay. Trapper, Sergeant at Arms. I mean, okay. So these cards here are all acceptable playables. You're really fucking desperate on the 3-1. Like, that's okay. These are all draft quality cards. Kinda. Alright, let's take a look at our blue. Double Relic Runner, our Wizard's Retort, 2 Eternity Journey Mages, which are very good. Weight of Memory, which is fine. And a Syncopate, and that's 2 Syncopates. And that's our entirety of our blue cards. It's a pretty small number. Journey Mages are very good, though. Black, Double Knight of Malice, Vicious Offering, Triple Deathbloom Thallid, Soul Salvage, Double Eviscerate, Rite of Beslanok, Double Omnivore, Urgaros, and Kazarov. So we're absolutely playing black. Let's look at our red. Triple Frenzy Rage, Double Chronicler, Run Amok, Double Overseer, Goblin Barrage, Skizik, and Varix. It's pretty good too. Probably playing red, maybe not. Let's look at our green. Grow from Ashes, a Druid, Sylvan Awakening, Double Sap Herd. It's quite good. The Gorgers or whatever, Spore Swarms, whatever. Got an Adalez. Got a Tatyova. Jousting Lance and a Short Sword and an Icy. And a Memorial to Genius. Do we have like a shit ton of wizards I didn't notice? Kind of. We have no 2-drops in black and blue and red combined though. We've got 2 Journey Mages in the Adalez. And 2 Chroniclers. But no 2-drops. Do we have 2-drops in any? Oh yeah, we get Double Knight of Malice. Alright, I think it's gonna be nearly impossible to get away from black. We have both our removal in here and our bombs. And very quality, high quality 3-drops. And some late game finishers. If we also do red with that, some value recursion. Don't love Overseers. Goblin Barrage, Skizik, Varix, got a lot of 4s. Gonna get that Icy in there 100% of the time, and probably the Jousting Lance. What is that right now? That's 38 cards. Do you not like counterspells in limited formats? I'm fine with counterspells in limited formats. So what are we not playing right now? We're not playing Sarah, Shalai, the Journey Mages. Yargle for curve. And Run Amok for a combat trick. Or even pull Yargle out and put a Keldon Overseer in as something. I mean, they basically do the same thing. They trade for a creature that has any attack power. So what are we lacking in this deck? We have some aggressive 2-drops. I mean, we don't get the Knight of Malice synergy, which would kind of be nice. Again, okay, so let's look at this. This is my first iteration of a deck. I think it's decent. What we have in it is a little bit of removal between Goblin Barrage and Icy Manipulator. and the double eviscerates and the vicious offering. A single combat trick. We have a little bit of a curve. We can mess with whether or not, like the weak cards in here, the Overseer, the Run Amok isn't amazing. These cards are very expensive for what this deck is trying to do, so maybe we don't play Kazarov in particular comes to mind. So we'll see. But this is the core of a deck we'd start with. We'll worry about mana and the rest of it later. So let's just for now grab that, throw that into paint, and go take a look at no, I don't like the Scryland. I like my mana consistency much more than I like the Scryland. And then let's go take a look at what the white-black variant looks like. So that's the white-black, and maybe there's something with blue. Although I'm not quite sure what the blue deck would be right now, since all blue has going for it are some wizard synergies. And I don't think we had enough wizard synergies for Adeliz. Like a single Adeliz doesn't really carry anything either. It's super strong, but single one is it's not really consistent enough. All right, seems fine. Let's go build our, what would we do if we built white into this deck? Like a white-black knight deck. Get a better combat trick. Don't get to play Varix or Goblin Barrage. Probably not playing Kazarov anyways, but let's take a look. So get some more 2-drops. We're going to get our Knight of Malices into 3/2 first strikers, which would be nice. We get another pretty quality 3. I don't know that we can even run the Marshal. We get a flyer at 4. We get Shalai, also a flyer at 4. And we get a flyer at 5. So we get a little bit of reach there in terms of, well, reach maybe not the right word. We get a little bit of more consistent creatures. How many triggers do we have for the Trapper? The Lance, the Manipulator, Urgarus, Shalai, Rite of Beslanok, like 5. It's not too much. It's not really worth running Poet for Rite of Beslanok, no. Poet's a pretty bad card. Yeah, Treant, that's why I'm looking at it, is because making the Knights into 3/2 first strikers is pretty ridiculous. Artifact, any fun? I thought it was really good. I'm pretty sure it's another game that's going to die to the Steam community being a fucking unreasonable bunch of people. Game is really good. Don't know what all the criticism about it is. Some charges in there too if I'm really desperate for shitty combat tricks. And is there a blue-red wizards lineup at all? Oops, I should leave that in here to take a quick look at this. What did I just pull? Like a knight, an aggressive knight or 2. And what's the creature count right now? 12. Really? Only 12 creatures in this deck? I mean, I guess Right is the creature, but might even run 1 charge with this. It's going to be an aggressively oriented deck. Oh, my Knight of Malice I pulled out. It's 39. Could even run a Yargle. We're going to be a type of deck that might actually trade enough that Yargle could attack once or twice before instantly dying. Alright, so this would be the kind of black-white deck we'd look at. Something similar to that. We can fine-tune it in a minute. So we'll run that into our thing here. Oops. Take a screen grab of that. And then we'll take a look at the final kind of cards that maybe fit together, which is maybe not playing black, which seems insane. I don't think we need to go tricolor. I think our cards are good enough that we don't need to worry about the mana. We don't have any good fixing. Like, we didn't have any skittering surveyors or anything like that. The only thing we have for fixing is 1 Grow from Ashes. I didn't think our green cards were very good, quite honestly. Like, we're missing just stuff that I care about in green. There's maybe green-black saplings here, but we can take a quick peek at that. But I don't even think that's really worth talking about. Missing some of the payoff cards. Got some of the dominant green-black cards, like, what's his face? Slimefoot. Don't have giant spiders. Oh, we have a lot of Thalids and Knights of Malice. Our black is just so good, man. We rolled some really nice black cards. So that's like 36 there. We've got a curve, but no real way to finish. No combat tricks to force our way through, or rather we could throw in some shitty combat tricks. And like the fungal, I already put the fungal plots in. I have second fungal plots? No. I mean, that isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Throw in Sylvan Awakener as a finisher. It's just not a very good one. Put a Jousting Lance and an Icy in there for 40. I mean, that's playable. We'll grab it as a screen grab, and then we'll try the Wizards build too. And I'll let you guys look at all 4 again. And then we can fine tune it and play. We'll talk about the pros and cons once we actually have all 4 there. Okay. Alright, let's grab the Wizards deck. Or rather the deck running blue. We do have a couple good blue cards. Not a lot though. So I'll put these in to start. We'll see if they make it. I don't think we have enough triggers for them to make it worthwhile running, but maybe. So a little bit of counter magic in there. I don't love Syncopate, but it's okay. Looking at Chroniclers for Wizard synergy, cycle cards, pump spells, hasters, removal. We lose a lot of removal doing this. It's only 34 cards. Atala's in there. Jousting Lance makes sense in a deck like this. This is Icy. It's 37. Our curve ends at 4. Why are these not stacking? Oh, because they think that's a 5. It's not really a 5, it's a 4. We don't have so many wizards. We don't have aggressive 2s either. Relic Runners then are only unblockable when we play Atala's, Jousting Lance, Icy, Varix. So only 5 ways to trigger that. I guess you put in like another Overseer here, maybe 1 Aura if you're feeling desperate, which I guess we are if we're playing this deck. Yeah, this deck is bad. Alright, that one's not even worth talking about. It just doesn't have enough synergies and enough payoff cards. There's no really good removal in that. The creatures are fairly weak. The best card in there's Atala's, but he doesn't have any supporting like wizards. There's none of the 3/2s or 2/3s or Narus or any of the shit that matters there. I don't think our blue is strong enough to play. And our black is definitely strong enough to play. So what does that leave? That leaves a couple. I'll show you guys them again. So we've got the Thallid Salad deck, which looking at that, so we've got a little bit of aggression with Knights of Malice and Deathbloom Thalids to begin with. We have no flyers to finish them, so we're using Omnivores and Bailiff Gorgers to push through. And our late game is... Oh, we got a Rite of Bezlanock and an Urgaros, so maybe sometimes we get some flyers through. What is the green doing for us? Kind of win more, honestly. Provides some stuff for the Omnivore to eat, but we already have stuff for the Omnivore to eat. Because we're running triple Deathbloom Thalids. I guess it just makes the Omnivores a little bit more consistent. It also sometimes gives us Gorgers the 7/7s a little bit later, and it gives us a late game win the game card with Sylvan Awakening. Alright. Don't worry about the land distribution on that, chat, and there might be 1 or 2 cards that we tweak, but that's the rough core of the deck. Alright, let's look at the white-black. What is the white-black doing for us? Gives us a little bit of reach with Shalai and Sarah Angel. Gives us the payoff of having white permanents to trigger our Knight of Malices. The 2s are a little bit more aggressively curved. We get some very kind of mediocre pump spells. Adamant Will and Charge are both mediocre at best. We've got a fair number of flyers here. Between the Sentry, the Shalai, the Rite of Bezlanock, the Urgaros, and the Sarah. We probably don't play Yargle. We probably play second Omnivore over Yargle, but roughly this list. Okay. So the white is basically there to provide white permanents to trigger our Knight of Malice, and then get a little bit of flying reach at the end. And what does the red-black do for us? Well, we got Chroniclers, who are basically value machines. Bodies early, or recycling removal. Recycling removal in limited formats is nuts. We get a little bit weaker early game from Knight of Malice not being a 3-2. Although remember, some of our opponents will trigger 3-2s off Knight of Malice. Run amok's fine. Keldon Overseer's a bit weak. Skizik's whatever. The Varix is nuts. Varix is one. If it's not the best card in Dominaria, it's like top 10. It's got to be top 10, maybe even top 5. The card is just insane. It's a 4/4 flyer on 4 that sometimes when you draw it a little bit later is 2 4/4 flyers for 7. So pretty good reach there too. Goblin Barrage is actually really good in this deck too. It's removal that sometimes we use to kill the opponent because we can sacrifice like a Jousting Lance or an Icy Manipulator post-combat and just go face. And we do get the Kazarov payoff of being able to have a flying vampire. That is fairly interesting. I think it's probably between these two. When I look at this, I don't see the green as adding all that much. So what is the comparison then? Some shitty knights on 2. So we get a 2/2 and a 3/1 as opposed to 1/3s. So if we top deck like a 2/2 or a 3/1, we're probably pretty pissed off. If we top deck a Chronicler, we're pretty happy. In the very early game, we might be slightly happier with a 3/1 or a 2/2, although it's not that likely. Sometimes the 2/2 is not a 2/2 either. Sometimes it's a 3/2. We get a little bit better Knight of Malice triggers. And we get Shalai and Sarah Angel. And the Sentry. The Sentry is not nothing. I don't like Sentry. A 3/2 flyer for 4 is pretty slow. But it is another flyer body. What do we get off red? We get Varix, potentially Skizik, potentially Keldon Overseer to steal the game. And a little bit more control-y with the Chroniclers and the Goblin Barrage. My tendency is always in Dominaria. If you can go slower and more greedy, go slower and more greedy because it wins the most number of games. Now, quick draft, the meta is people playing the stupidest shit and just slamming them into you. And that doesn't win games consistently, but it will win some games rapidly if you get land screwed or something. So, and this is best of 1. So there is an argument that lower to the ground is sometimes safer. But I would probably play red-black. But the red-white or the black-white is pretty good too. So before I fine-tune the decks, I'll let you guys vote on which one you'd like to see. I think I'm like probably 60-40 towards the red-black, but maybe only as low as 55-45. It's pretty close. So Rakdos or the Orzhov. Let me know, chat. I'll fire the votes off and we'll work with it. Yeah, again, don't worry about any individual single one card in the decks. We can work around one card either way. You know, we're gonna finesse the deck to make sure the lands fit, to make sure the curve fits, and to make sure that we're using the best cards available. But those are the rough captures of the deck. And if you think about when you're doing sealed events, you have about an hour to craft your deck, right? 50 minutes to an hour to craft your deck. So taking a rough capture of what you're going to do this physically with cards and in person, but really, and you can use your phone, screen cap it, right? Like to look at, well, this is the one group versus the other group. So can't see half the poll. I'm sorry. I'll fix that. In fact, those of you who voted, let me finish and redo the poll because I don't want to force the vote by only having one of the options on the screen. Sorry to make you guys vote again. All right. Meanwhile, I'll sit back, let you guys do all the work of deciding. sip some tea, chill out, have a good afternoon. It's been a good Sunday, chat. I keep getting screwed in RNG again, but that's magic for you, right? It's games in general. Do your best. I really liked that last game we played. The one we died to Sylvan Awakening. I thought that was a really good game. What color was that deck we were playing? The blue-black. That was an interesting game. One of these games where the start of the game is you just being on the back foot from the opponent having a good draw and your draw being bad, and then trying to claw every little tiny bit of advantage you can back out of that game to live. So. Okay, so what do you guys at? We got a pick from this. That's 72% red black. I'm not sure it's as close as that, but okay. Let us check it out. Game is good until the opponent missed lethal. Game is good until my opponent out top decked me the last 4 fucking cards of the game. So let's put that deck back together. So that was the. I mean, I do think it's hard to estimate the impact of the Knight of Malice as being 3/2 first strikers, and they will in some of the games anyways. But it's a little bit hard to get a sense of how good that is. All right, but we're gonna rebuild this deck, the black-red one. So I'll do that first. Kind of hope not to play Yargle. I'm really unsure about Kazarov in this deck. I mean, if we're a little bit more control-y, it's a little bit more likely that that's going to be good. And Kazarov is very slow, so there's something to be said about being a little bit more control-y if you can slow the game down. Skizik's only whatever. And then there were 2 artifacts we were running. The Lance, what's the Icy? And that's 39. Right, black had life gain. There's not really life gain in this set. Or not much of it anyways. You think Skizik's great? I don't think Skizik's great. I think Skizik's okay. It's good if you're aggressive. It's a surprise 5/3 haster. It's better in Yargle. It's probably our final card. Unless we're running something like Frenzied Rage or Warlord's Fury or something. There's a couple lifelinkers. Unicorn's a lifelinker. Lyra's a lifelinker. Okay, we can't do this mana distribution though. It's got to be closer to like 9/8. We got to have double red from time to time on 4 for Varix. It's nice to only be double colored. I'm okay with this, I think. Okay. Yeah, on Sarah's Wings. You'd splash Shalai? Nah. The deck's good enough without having to splash for Shalai here. We're already to the point of what cards do you want out of this deck? The weakest cards in this deck are Skizik, Keldon Overseer, which actually isn't even that bad of a card. And maybe like Run Amok. Like that's your 3 weakest cards. Run Amok's one of those cards I wish it was sideboarding, right? Like, I'd bring it in on the play, but probably not play it on the draw. Fours are a little bit heavy. Omnivore's a little bit awkward, but he does have targets to eat. He's got Death Blooms and Chroniclers. Okay. You take out Skizik for Shalai. It's not the trade. The trade is you take out Skizik for Shalai and add 2 white mana. And that's a lot bigger of a deal. 18th land is better than Run Amok. That's not true. All right, what do we call this? Yeah, this is the normal streamer pokes chat. Okay, do we have too much red mana in here? We ever looking to double spell black? We are sometimes, but not all that often. Vicious Offering means we would sometimes like to hold up black mana. Eviscerate means we'd sometimes like to do that too. We do need double red for Varix, double red for Keldon Overseer kick, and Run Amok requires red. Okay. Okay. That's not fair. Maybe you're not empty. What else do we want? Could be Shalai. Could be 3/2s. Could be Kazarov. So let's look at this. Okay, so this is the one. This is what we come up with. What does the paint version of the white one look like? The white-black one. Chat of Malice. I like that. Okay. White-black one might be better. The 2s are weaker. The 3s are about the same. Trapper's gonna be better in Overseer some of the time and worse than Overseer some of the time. The 4s are worse. Varix and Goblin Barrage are better than Aven Sentry and Shalai. The 5s are a little bit better in white. Although Yargle is not very good. Kazarov is just slow. We have no draw in this deck, so Kazarov is going to be a dead card a lot of the time. But some of the longer games, maybe we get there. Still okay with it. Alright,